Rana Abtar Al-Hurra. You mentioned before that you're refusing the unity government issue that Nasrallah proposed before. Does this mean that you're refusing to Nabih Berri call for a reconciliation meeting now in Beirut? And if not, does this, how do you explain the results of the meeting? And are you optimistic about the results?
Look, suppose, let's fix it in another way. We have agreed upon before the war on 4 major items. The first item was international tribunal, diplomatic relations, removing the weapons of the Palestinians outside the camps, and delineating and demarcating Sheba. Okay? And we've disputed upon 2 issues: weapons of Hezbollah and the question of the president. Are they ready, the other parties, are they ready to see if we can get out of this constitutional crisis, Azamat Hukum, we call it, and have a new president, free president elected from the Lebanese, or they will stick to Lahoud? If they are ready, the road is open to bargain. But they have aimed, or their aim now is that within a week or 2 weeks, because they know that the question of the tribunal is being discussed actually at the United Nations, at the Security Council. So it seems they are in a hurry to block it there in Beirut before having the goal achieved at the United Nations Council. That's it. We are afraid that somewhere that will lead to a paralysis. We'll see. The question is not good intentions, it's facts. It's facts.
A question from the overflow. Are we going to a civil war?
To what?
A civil war.
No, why should we go to a civil war?
Okay.
Why should we go to a civil war? But I'm saying the only thing that can protect Nasrallah, okay, is national consensus, okay?
Yes, Judith, please.
Mr. Salman there.
Yeah, and then there. Judith Kipper, here, please. Yes.
Judith, yeah.
Walid, excuse me, Walid, you've been in the United States this time and not so long ago when we had the pleasure of seeing you after a long absence. You've been seeing a lot of big shots in the U.S. government, and you're very vivid, being the senior person from Lebanon since the war. What are your expectations of the United States? Isn't it a difficult time now since the U.S. didn't call for a ceasefire, was really the only country in the world that did not during the war, and the U.S. is not talking to 2 of the most important antagonists for you and for others, being Iran and Syria, although we still have diplomatic relations with Syria. Specifically, what do you need the U.S. to do to help Lebanon and to stabilize the region?
Again, I have to remind you, Judith, that thanks to this actual administration and Jacques Chirac, last year we were able to get officially the Syrians out. Okay? And some other neighbors, I've heard, the Israelis, were not willing to get the Syrians out. I've heard rumors. You know, the Middle East is full of conspiracies.
Okay.
What I'm expecting? Well, they have done an excellent job. Okay, I know that they have problems in Iraq, and I know that the Syrians are creating these problems for them in Iraq with the Iranians, and I know the joint efforts of the Syrians and the Iranians to partition Iraq. Okay, and I did said it clearly at one time. I think it was last year that. Saddam was overthrown thanks to American, let's say, efforts. It was a good thing to overthrow Saddam, but later on some miscalculations occurred during the course of events which led to the actual crisis. Saddam had to be removed. Okay. But also I did say, because I'm not going to denounce what I said before, that also free elections occurred in Iraq, and within a framework of the actual constitution. So if they can implement this constitution, okay, without using violent methods, I mean the Iraqis, it would be good. As for dealing with the Syrians, knowing quite good the Syrians, good traders of the bazaar of Al-Hamidiyya, they will just take and give nothing. The Syrians don't give a damn about the Golan. Don't give a damn about Iran. They of course are much more concerned about Lebanon. Lebanon was the pocket money for the family. Okay, Lebanon was the pocket money of the family. The Golan is nothing. And I will tell you also, you are expert on the Middle East. This minority regime, Syria, will not ever sign a peace with the Israelis. And from 1967 up till now, there's a kind of joint, should I say, interest between them and the neighbors, Israelis. Okay. And when they fight on our ground. When they fight on our ground, Lebanon. So this is why I'm not advocating, of course, Syrian-US relationship, okay? Unless the Syrians decide, and you have a tool to force them to decide, to change behavior. Change behavior first, acknowledge the existence of a free Lebanon, independent Lebanon. That's one. This is my concern. I'm selfish because this is my struggle. What they do in Iraq, that's something else. But my concern is Lebanon.
Okay, yes. No, in the back. No, I'm sorry. There was somebody else before you. Okay, no. Next time, please. Because yes. Because
Mr. Jumblatt, Melhem Salman, with the track record of the gap between the principles of U.S. foreign policy in the Middle East and their performance, how optimistic are you that this gap will be narrower in Lebanon?
Could you rephrase the question, please, Melhem? Please, Melhem.
With the existing gap of the declared principles of the American policy in the Middle East, especially in Iraq and Palestine, the roadmap, in Iraq democratization, do you think that this existing gap will be narrower in Lebanon between the declared principles and the performance of the American foreign policy in Lebanon?
I think before Syrian presence in Lebanon, Lebanon experience was the first and the only unique democracy in the Arab world. Even under French mandate, Lebanon was a democracy, was a free country, in a way. Okay, the Americans now, should I say, crusade advocating democracy and freedom in the world is good. It reminds me that Wilson's dreams. But of course, at the time of the Cold War, I think things were better. Now, I will just answer back by the fact when the British were defeated in Afghanistan at the famous Battle of Khyber Pass, and the famous British poet Rudyard Kipling said, "The West is the West, and the East is the East."
Could I ask you, please, to keep the ovation for the end, because we're losing time this way. How may current tensions affect the choice of the next president?
Sorry.
How may the existing current tension in Lebanon affect the next presidential elections in the fall of 2007? This is a
unfortunately,
written
Madam,
question.
Mrs., we are not able to think ahead more than 2 weeks. And now it seems, as I've heard, we have an ultimatum by the people of Hezbollah that within the next weeks they have to force a national unity government. It's quite risky for them and for us. And you asked me about the Iranians. Well, you have to know the limits of their ambitions. Okay, I mean, if they want to have this expansionism everywhere, it's tricky and dangerous for the Arab world. They have legitimate ambitions, and they have illegitimate ambitions. How to reconcile, I don't know. But, of course, we have to somewhere acknowledge that it's a quite important power, regional power, superpower.